You are watching Time for Change TV with James Alexander.
I was in Jacksonville recently when a company said we're not coming to Florida because our workers decided it was better to pay state income tax in California than to put 2 kids in private school in Duval County. That ought not be a consideration. The public schools have been the repository of the dreams of Floridians. If you want to fix the schools, pay the teachers better, recruit the best and the brightest back into the classroom, give them the authority to run the classes, educate them so that we're doing something besides becoming just an FCAT test center, have a school system that really reflects an SAT score that shows that we're not at the bottom of the country. We'll change Florida with those things. I'm Rod Smith. I want you to know exactly what I'll do and how I'll pay for it. As governor, I'll change the FCAT and create a testing system that works for kids. I'll use our budget surplus for school construction to lower class size, and I'll raise teacher salaries and pay for it by restoring the intangibles tax on multimillionaires. It's time for straight talk about education in Florida. I feel like that the way we ought to approach taxes is very simply this. We need to pay the programmatic needs of this state. We have got the money to do what needs to be done. Last year we found $2.8 billion new dollars. We are going to have $3 billion new dollars again this year. Our problem with education and healthcare, the reason that we are one of only 2 states over the last decade that has not increased after inflation, our investment in our per student has not been a lack of dollars. It has been a lack of political will. We've got the money. We need to create the priorities. We need to fund the public schools and the school teacher salaries in this state. We need to attract them back into the classroom, retain the teachers into the classroom. We need to make sure that the programmatic needs of this state, particularly the needs of things like universal pre-K, are met, and then we'll decide whether we send back money or not. You know, it's not the worst thing in the world to send back money to folks. I never had them gripe about it. The worst thing to do is to send back money to folks when you didn't pay the bills you had, and that's what I'm against. Thank you. You know, I was born in a house that didn't have running water. My dad didn't finish high school. My grandfather only went to school a couple of years. They were tremendously hardworking farmers. I'm getting to live their dreams. You've heard the saying that somebody worked themselves to death. They worked themselves to death for me. I know what it's like for a public school to be your only way out. I don't have the privilege of somebody having sent me or my father or my grandfather to prep school somewhere. The fact is, I know what it's like to hope that you can go to community college so that you can save enough money to go on to college. And it was beyond my dreams that I would ever complete law school. But there were other people who dreamed big for me. I know what it's like to work really hard, long days, go to school, and then go to work. I know what it's like for weekends to mean just another occasion to work on things we didn't get done during the week. All the things I look back on my life, the lessons I learned in the vegetable fields and the cow pens with my dad and my granddad have shaped me way more than anything I learned in law school. What we haven't got to talk about tonight is stem cell research. I want you to know something. This administration is allowing its ideologies to stand in the way of science. You've got great leaders down here who have already said, and they agree with me, that by the way, research and medicine and science is how we've always decoded God's messages of health and healing. And I want to know something. Do you believe that they're going to be able to win on a platform that says we will turn our back on people who have Alzheimer's, who need spinal regeneration? We're going to turn our back on families with juvenile diabetes? Not for a moment. Florida knows that their ideology has gone too far to the right, and they're ready to come back with a democratic answer. Florida's system for the delivery of health care is broken. It's got to be fixed. As a state senator, I have fought to expand women's screenings for cervical and breast cancer. I fought for greater access to children's insurance. And I fought against a plan that I think, if implemented, would have left much of this state worse off in terms of having access to quality health care. Florida knows and Floridians know that we're not going to have a Medicaid plan that works in this state just because the governor put it in a couple of pilots and before we even got the results decided let's go ahead and implement it statewide when it would have been an experiment on our poorest and our sickest Floridians. You can't offload your obligations like they want to. You can't outsource your responsibilities to one another. I absolutely believe that the power of the state has to be used to fight for families against the big drug companies. We've got to stand up to them. Once they know we're going to stand up to them and we're going to use our power, our purchasing power, either alone or in consortium with other states,
they're going to respond to the negotiations for better prices for our citizens. As Florida's governor, I'm going to make sure that my first goal is prescription drugs that are affordable by the people who need them the most.
Let me just be real clear with you. When Democrats stay on the message that works at the breakfast tables at people's houses, when we talk about good schools, when we talk about affordable home ownership, when we talk about accessible health care, when we talk about an environment that we can sustain, when we talk about creating good jobs, we win. When we get our eye off the ball, that's the only way the Republicans can beat us.
Please visit www.time-for-change.org.uk.